This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Peterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Favorite beer, favorite gear, and Happy New Year. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 459. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your home brewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you, my friend, have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com. You could email joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. But even better, call it in to 325-305-6107. When I use your voicemail on a future episode, get yourself a gift card to ketconnection.com. Does not get much better than that. But no, it doesn't, because I don't have anybody here today. Let me check the music. First off, Happy New Year. I'm recording this on New Year's Eve in the morning before the whole day gets started of activities and fun. Go over to my parents' house and do fireworks and eat tamales, and probably my mom makes these meatball things, and we've got on tap rice lager, Kolsch, alt beer, and imperial coffee stout. It's gonna be a good night. But today, when you're listening to this, it's a good day. Happy New Year. I hope that you were safe last night. I hope that everything's going well. By the time this publishes, I should be wrestling sweaty dudes in Austin, Texas. I'm going to an open mat, so that'll be fun. And we'll get to all the New Year resolution kind of stuff as the episode goes on. I said just a second ago how I don't have anyone else on here. Again, giving Todd and James the week off. Todd is, as I'm recording this, we normally record on Wednesdays, and because of the holidays falling midweek as they have the Christmas last week and New Year's this week, It was just rough lining up schedules, but I didn't want to do 2 weeks in a row off. So I thought, you know what I can do? I could do kind of the year-end recap on my own. Not a big deal. I've done episodes solo now. I actually don't mind doing them. I used to be terrified of them. And because this one's not taking any questions, it's super straightforward. I don't got anything to worry about. You can't correct me when I'm talking about recipes like, well, just did it. No. It's all very just straightforward, matter-of-fact recap, not shooting for a time limit or any of that, but this is all information I wanted to do an episode on anyway, and since Todd and James giving them the week off again, I figured, hey, I'll just knock it out myself. Before we get to that, though, let me go over the relevant small talk that we always do, in that the recipe for December, so this isn't January's kit, recipe for December, the Scotch ale, the Wee Heavy. I would technically, if you want to get it and you haven't signed up yet, you can join, and I'll still ship it out to you because these aren't going out until Monday or Tuesday, which I'd have to pull up the calendar because I'm bad at doing the math. What is Monday? Is that the 5th? Maybe. I don't know. I can't pull up the calendar. January 5th or Monday is when these are going to go out. Monday or Tuesday of next week. The yeast is in. The ingredients are in. And we're sending this out. Just wanted to give everyone a heads up on that. If they're in the Trub Club and they're like, has the recipe shipped yet? No, I updated it on Patreon. These are going out. They were doing inventory up there this week, so they could not get the recipe kits out. And then I wasn't going to drive up this week because of New Year's Eve. My wife would kill me if I missed out on the New Year's Eve fun with her and the kids. But either way, just wanted to keep you on the loop there. We have not announced January's kit or have not decided it, so I cannot announce it today. And I'll kind of go over that as well in this recap show and 2026 resolution type show, give you all the details there. If you missed the Brew Day Live, my pop and I did. I'll just put it on the screen anyways. We did it last week, the day after Christmas. We had a blast. It was actually one of the most interactive Brew Day Lives we've done in a while. The chat was great. The Brew Day went smooth. Confession, we forgot to take a gravity reading. We were so caught up in what to get for lunch that we got back and started transferring, and we're eating lunch, and then we put it in the fermenter, and the batch is going like crazy still. Basically, almost a full week later, this big old boozy batch is going. But as I was watching the fermentation go in our Firmzilla, I called my pop and I was like, dude, we completely forgot to take a reading, which is, I think, the first, it may be the second time that we forgot to take a reading in 2025. We were pretty good about doing that this whole year, but missed out on it. So when we do a gravity reading at the final one, I'll make some assumptions. Most of our batches this year have been spot on the numbers from the recipe sheet that we create and we print out. So I feel confident that we could say, oh, it's supposed to be the OG was supposed to be 1079. Yeah, let's just put that. But we don't have to necessarily. Lesson learned, take readings, or just don't worry about it. But on a beer that's supposed to be as boozy as we did the Belgian triple, we're going to be in range. I promise you, we'll probably be in the correct range. But anyway, all that fun was at youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. It's there, published already. And like I said, if you want to join the Trub Club, patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. Join a recipe receiving tier. Come brew with us. Thank you to our sponsors, Munton's Malt, hopsdirect.com, Imperial Yeast, and Monster Brewing Hardware for always providing the ingredients and equipment we need for these brew days to go smooth, for the recipes to be as premium as they are, and to keep this show going. But more importantly, you guys who are members at patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour, because you are the ones literally keeping the show going, and we appreciate you. And also, because I have it up on my side screen, a shout out to our friends at brewersfriend.com. Reminder, save 25% off your membership when you use the promo code Happy Hour. That's all one word, Happy Hour, and you'll get 25% off a premium membership. I feel like I'm out of breath. I don't know if it's the cold. I don't know if I just don't breathe appropriately, but I feel like I have to keep doing this. Anyway, year-end recap show. It's titled Favorite Beer, Favorite Gear, and Happy New Year. What I want to start off the show, I'm kind of going to break it into segments. I'm going to talk about, briefly go over the batches that we did with the Trub Club, and then de facto the batches my pop and I did on the Brew Day Lives because we tried to parallel it every single time to brew with you guys that are in the Trub Club at Recipe Receiving Tiers. So we'll go over the 2025 batches that we did with the Trub Club. Then I'll go into the 2025 gear that we used for the whole year. And I'll kind of, as I go over the gear that we've been using this past year, I'll talk about what's my favorite, what I like, what I might want to add, all that. And then we'll do a brief thing on 2026 goals. Like I said earlier, not really trying to just drag out a boring episode, but this is all data and information I get asked about a lot at some point. Like, hey, what was your favorite batch that you did? Or the gear that you used? What did you like? What didn't you not like? Blah, blah, blah. And instead of trying to work it in to an episode with the guys here and there, I figured let's just do a recap episode. We normally do that this time of year, every year. So let's get started. I don't have questions, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just do the gong of segments or something. The gong of segments. We started off 2025 so strong because we did. Actually, let me put myself over. Nope, not there. There. Here we go. If you're watching at YouTube, sorry. I'll put all the recipe PDFs on the screen. Bling. We started off with a Kolsch, and I should have pulled up these recipes is what I should do, not just on the screen here, but for me so I can talk about it. Okay, so our Kolsch recipe, here we go. I could pull it up on this screen here. We started off January 2025 with the Kolsch, not just because I'm lazy, because it's my favorite recipe of all time, but also because we were wanting people who are in the club and enter into our Kolsch Cup, which is in May of every year, to have plenty of time to brew this and let it cold condition to give your Kolsch the best possible chance at winning our Kolsch Cup, if you were just going to take our recipe and brew it. But now that I have the recipe up, it was for a 5-gallon batch. If you were in the Trub Club, it was 8 pounds of lager malt from Muntins, 1 pound of Vienna malt from Muntins, and a half a pound of Cara Vienne. Extremely straightforward build for the grains, and then the hop addition, 1 ounce of Hallertau for 60 minutes. What I loved about this recipe, it is a tried and true Cologne Kolsch clone. It's if you're over there, it's pretty close to Früh, in my opinion. If you get commercial Früh, which should be available to most people across the country, and you brew this recipe, I think you will be extremely satisfied. We did use Imperial's Dieter, which is the best Kolsch strain of all time, in my opinion. And there's very close second places. Lala Man was probably my second favorite. And then they killed the strain. I think I've had a lot of people, specifically our buddy Jonathan Marut, tell me how much they love that Lala Man dry strain for their Kolsch. And then Lala Man was like, oh, you guys like it? Basically like Google. Google does this to me all the time. I get in love with one of their software products or whatever, use it for years, and then they kill it. Whatever. But Y Yeast makes a good one. White Labs makes a good. Actually, I can't think of a Kolsch strain that is bad. It's just Dieter happens to be my favorite. It always produces a very slightly fruity but crisp finish on my Kolsch. And that's all I can ask for from a Kolsch. I want it to be like drinking a little bit of like a white grape cloud, and very subtle emphasis on whatever fruit you think you're getting. I say white grape. Some people say pear. It should be subtle on our Kolsch. We kind of did a couple of weeks ago, or was it? Yeah, because last week we did not do an episode. At some point that someone asked, what is a Kolsch? What should I expect? And I already went into all this. Go check out that episode. But Dieter is what I use to get what I want out of a Kolsch. So that was January. And then in February of 2025, we did the London Porter. Let me pull that up if I can find it. Here we go. The London Porter was a 7.5 pounds of Muntins Maris Otter, 1 pound of Muntins Brown Malt, 1 pound of Muntins Crystal 90, and 8 ounces of Muntins Chocolate Malt. This was the only batch. This has nothing to do with the build. This has nothing to do with the batch. It has everything to do with me being dumb. This is the one where I brought home that 10-gallon keg that Todd has had for forever, and I told my pop, we brew 10-gallon batches. Let's try fermenting in the keg. and my pop is too nice to say anything. I've been in the industry for like almost 18 years, and he thinks I'm an expert. So when I say something dumb as, I'm going to put 10 gallons into a 10-gallon keg, no problem. We don't need headspace. My dad's like, okay, yeah, you're the expert. When he should have said, no, you idiot, because I left no headspace and it volcanoed out of my spunding valve. I ruined the batch, unfortunately. And I had London Porter all over my collectible guitars, all over even my cheap guitars I shouldn't care about, all over my wall over there. It was all over my humidor. Sad day for Joshua. It was, I guess, late February, or we brewed it, I think, mid-February, but the fermentation thing ruined my life in late February of 2025. So I don't want to remember 2025's February, but the batch I heard, and I've brewed it before, was phenomenal. It's a solid style, especially for colder type weather, maltiness forward. I forgot to do the hop additions. It was 60 minutes of 3/4 ounce, so 0.75 ounces of East Kent Goldings. And then at 15 minutes left in the boil, it was 1 ounce of East Kent Golding. And again, kind of a low alpha acid hop it's not going to be a very bitter style, malt forward. It's going to, the roasted stuff that you have in there, the chocolate malt just for the color, not imparting too much flavor. And then that nice aroma addition at 15 minutes of the EKG. It's a very pleasant experience, and it's not a boozy beer. Ours, I did take a reading, and I think we finished at like 5.5, or no, it was less. It was maybe 5.4. By the way, 5% is pretty standard. So I would dare to say it's a crushable style. And I know a lot of people in the Trub Club had a good experience from it. Unfortunately, because of my stupidity, my pop and I, that was the only batch this year we dumped. And I'm doing air quotes for audio only listeners because I tried to save it. I rekegged it. I let the fermentation finish out, but I oxidized it, I think, because by the time I was brave enough to try it mid-March after sitting in a keg, it had this metallic sort of overtone to it, and not so much cardboard, but a little bit of that kind of stale biscuit, I guess, is what I would have called it. It was not good. I don't even remember if my pop tried it, if I even let him try it. I was so embarrassed. But with that being said, let's move on to a batch that did turn out great. And let me put it up on the screen here. Bloop, the California Common. As I say that, now I have to actually find it on my screen. Here we go. The California Common that we did was this 8 pounds of Munton's Planet, 1 pound of Munich malt, 8 ounces of Caramel 40, and then the hops were 2 ounces of Northern Brewer for the entire boil. Oh no, pardon me. Here's the hop schedule. This recipe sheet was different for some reason. I don't know why it came out that way. It was for 60 minutes 1 ounce of Northern Brewer, and then for the last 10 of the boil, it was 1 ounce. This recipe was James's back when Keg Connection used to do the true to style recipe line. I don't know how long any given one of you watching or listening have been watching and listening to this show, because this is episode 459. We've been around a while. Many years ago, back when I had hair, we ran a homebrew supply shop, and Keg Connection did ingredients and recipes and all that. It was the glory days. I think there's a quote in The Office of like, how do you know when you're living in the good times? And that was the good times. I have such fond memories of going up there and like Willy Wonka, or like the Candyman can scene in that movie in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where who can make the sunrise, or whatever the lyrics are. That was what it was like up there in the ingredient room for me, just running around. But anyway, we have the true to style line, and it had the Kolsch, it had an alt beer, and California Common, and Anchor. That is Anchor steam beer, basically, is what we did with the California Common. We made placards and all this stuff. I'll put that on the screen as well. It was the good times. Where I'm going with this is that it is such a good replication of Anchor Steam's beer, of Anchor Brewing's Steam beer, that a lot of people we have found have requested it for us to do this again after Anchor shut their doors down. I think the Chobani yogurt guy bought them, and I don't even know if they're doing contract brewing on Anchor. I haven't looked for it at liquor stores. Somebody in the comments correct me if I'm wrong that Anchor is not making beer anymore. I don't look for it because I just assumed it's dead. But this was a very good replication of that, or emulation of that beer. And I know we gave a $5 of that to Todd. And if I went through my text messages, I'm pretty sure it's one of the ones where he gave us 2 thumbs up. He's normally a 1 thumbs up guy. But one of my biggest boasts for this year of brewing is how much Todd replied to, sent text to my pop and I. We have a group chat between the 3 of us where he's like, "Oh, I'm drinking your Kolsch right now." Oh, I didn't actually share any of the Kolsch, but "I'm drinking your California Common right now. It is so good." Or "I'm drinking your whatever. Oh, it is so good." That makes me feel good. 'Cause it's not like Todd is a very harsh critic, but he just doesn't mince words. And so if he doesn't like it, he's not going to say anything, or he's going to be like, he won't tell my pop, but he'd probably tell me, "Hey man, do you think something's wrong with this batch? Hey, do you think, is this really like how you think it should taste?" But we didn't have that at all this entire year. Partially because there was a lot of batches I did not share with him, but also because we've just been brewing such solid beer. And when I get to the segment on our gear, I think a lot of that is due to that. The gear we're using and the processes we're using is what I have to thank. So anyways, March was California Common. Moving on to March. What comes after March? April does. April's batch was a Kvike Smash IPA. Let me pull that one up. Smash being obviously a single malt and single hop beer. Here's the recipe PDF. All it was 13 pounds of Munton's Maris Otter. And then the hops was for 60 minutes, 1 ounce of Citra. For 10 minutes left in the boil, another ounce of Citra. And then we dry hopped 2 days after primary fermentation was done with 1 ounce of Citra. One thing that people get confused about with dry hopping, or they ask a lot, and this might get some comments in YouTube, I've always understood if the hop schedule says dry hop 2 days later, as this one does, that means once primary is done. When primary is going on, I don't personally want to mess with it. But now that I'm thinking out loud in real time, actually maybe you would be fine because of all the CO2 that is being produced is going to make it safe to open it up and drop your hops in. I actually don't know. I've always historically, we don't brew beers that dry hop, so it's never been an issue for me. One time my pop and I did a different homebrewsupply.com recipe. I think it was called Hop Fellas, and we pitched in the keg is when we dry hopped, and I didn't have a bag. And at the time, Laddick, our buddy Joe, was running Homebrew Supply. He was like, "Yeah, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it." And not throwing you under the bus, Joe, but we were picking hop particulates out of our teeth for a week. And that actually wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the hop particulates were clogging up the dip tube. So we'd have to take out the post and clear it out. Thank God we didn't ruin that batch. But anyways, with the Kvike Smash IPA, we call it Kvike because we did send out Imperial's Kviking. And one of the benefits of that is if you are fermenting without temperature control, you could leave it in your garage. I think that goes up to 95 in its range of acceptability. And the higher you are in your temperature range, the more fruity notes and stuff like that a lot of people like in this style. It makes it like this fruity, juicy Smash IPA. We did not do that. Every batch this year we actually did under pressure, and we did at room temp. If you watch our Brew Day Lives, my pop and I frequently argue, what is room temp? I keep my office during all these fermentations at 70. I understand in Texas, that's not room temp. Room temp's probably closer to 76, 77. But across, when I think of just an average baseline for, being able to create a constant in our experimentation of batch after batch and pressurized fermentation, 70 just made sense to me. If I went to 65, a little bit more on my electric bill, and closer in the range of just what's proper for a lot of ales, even if it's on the higher end. 65 is low. 70 is like, yeah, we're outside of most ale for yeast temperature ranges, but I can keep my office comfortably year round at 70, especially while we're fermenting. Keep these batches at 10 psi, and it turns out good. This Kvite, I believe we still had on tap at my pop's house before Christmas. We had taken it off and replaced it with I forget. I had already told you earlier what we have on tap, but I forget. We put the coffee stout on in place of it. I had to make a tough choice, and it was like, at Christmas and New Year, do I want an IPA or do I want a coffee stout? It was not a hard choice at all. But this is not a style my pop and I would probably go out of our way to brew. We're not super into the fruity IPAs, and especially, like I said, if you let that Kvite work at the higher temperature range, that's what you're going to get out of that yeast. But this batch, I believe we gave a 5 to Todd. I think we offered all of it to Todd, honestly, because it's just not one of our favorite styles. And then ironically, I had people the next month in May when we were doing, I'll just fast forward to it now, bloop, the alt beer. I had a lot of people say like, hey man, I actually don't really want to do an alt beer. Can you just ship me another Kvite? And I would be like, grumble. Oh, yeah, got me. I'm good. Yeah, sure. That sounds great. But no, we work with you guys in the Trub Club. And I was shocked that a lot of people who had brewed it already were like, man, I want to brew another 5. Can you send that out, please? So anyways, moving on from the Kvite now to the Dusseldorf alt beer. Let me find that in this database that you would think I would have sorted alphabetically. All right, here we go. Dusseldorf Trub Club 2025. This recipe was 4 pounds of lager malt from Muntons, 4 pounds of Munich Light, half a pound of Cara Munich 3, half a pound of Cara Pils, and 1 ounce of Carafa. When I've been having help doing the recipes this year, Tammy in our office, she's been great. She takes care of stuff. And sometimes I feel bad when some of the recipes have more than like 3 ingredients. But with the alt beer, because I think she tried to learn about, she works for Keck Connection LLC, but she also helps a lot with CM Becker. And I think in learning the history of it, Todd always brings up how our manufacturing's in Dusseldorf, and here's the history, very brief, watered down history, and then the sister city of Cologne, and that's why Josh loves Kolsch. I took him there, and Todd always, when he explains it to people, is like, oh, and alt beers and Kolsch are very similar, but then you look at the grain bill, and you're like, but wait a second, the alt beer seems a lot more complicated. It's not. It's maltier, and it's not as much base grain from the lager malt. It exchanges some for the Munich, so you get different characteristics. Like alt beer, I think literally translates to old beer, and I don't know if that's because of their aging techniques that they did. Both Kolsch and alt are hybrid ales, right? So they're not pure lager. They're not pure ale. They're ales at lager temps or lager-ish temps, and the yeast strains are very region specific. If you brew this grain bill and you don't use a strain from that area for your yeast, you're not technically brewing an alt beer. I think legally in the country of Germany, I'm not supposed to be able to call my beer an alt beer anyways. I have to call it like an American dark ale, or I've made that up. I'm just saying, I think legally in Cologne, if you brew a Kolsch outside of Cologne, it's not a Kolsch. It's like champagne, right? I think. Someone correct me in the comments below. But back to this recipe. What I love about alt beer is it is not as simple. Like the Kolsch is a cloud that's just simple and crisp. It is my lawnmower beer, and I can churn it out easily without temperature control because it's not like a pure lager, even though it has that kind of lager finish. I view alt beer the same way, and it's like my cooler weather, even though I drink a lot in the summer, it's my cooler weather kind of comfort beer, where we have it on tap right now at Christmas. Like I had said, we had the coffee stout, the Japanese rice lager, the Kolsch, and the alt beer. And when people were there, like, oh, I'm going to try them all, but Josh, what would you try first? The alt beer is my favorite one that's on tap right now. I think I've said that on our Homebrew Happy Hour and my personal Instagram. I think I even said it in a post. Maybe I even said it on a podcast episode. I don't know what it is like they all are unique, right? They're all like the Japanese rice lager has that ricey, crisp finish lawnmower beer thing. The Kolsch, similar, but more, but less, like how do I explain? It's not a lager, so it doesn't have that lager bite like the rice lager does, but it's still so smooth, like I said, drinking a cloud. The coffee stout, it finished at 10%, and this is the most coffee forward breakfast stout we've done in a while. So it was, it finished out just like we used cold brew concentrate from my friends at Mochas and Javas. Best decision ever, because it's just this very pleasant, good for cold weather with a cigar beer. But the alt beer was just like this smooth, malty, but not overly, like when I say malty, I don't know how to quantify it, because I don't mean sweet. Sometimes I conflate malt and sweetness. When I'm saying malt, I mean it's like on the, like I feel it in my cheeks, the roasted malt, and it's so pleasant, and the finish is very crisp. And so you're drinking it. It is also a great cigar beer. Spoiler, everything I drink is great with the cigar. But like kidding aside, a good alt, which if you're here in the States, like 80% of our audience is, I don't know of a good commercial clone I could point y'all to that's available across the country. I have breweries in this area that make alt beers. There's ones that I would not recommend, and there's some that off the top of my head, you have to go into the brewery and get it on tap. But alt beer is such a delicate style. I think James makes the point that it is one of the hardest styles for him to brew good because of just how delicate it is. And if you watch the last time we did the alt pokal, like people get frustrated when Todd sometimes judges beer and he goes, it's good, but it's just not an alt. And we don't, on the score sheets, we do our best to elaborate what that means. It's hard to like I said, quantify exactly what an alt is. You just got to go to Dusseldorf and try it. But this, wrapping up the recipe that we did, what I loved about it is that it nails that sort of Schlussel maltiness that when James came up with this recipe, which was also one of the original Cat Connection True to Style recipes in that lineup, he nailed it. He really nailed it. So moving on, after the alt beer, we did, I don't even know if I have this info. We did a Comanche Summer Moon Ale, and this was Todd's recipe. There we go. I've got it up. The Comanche Summer Moon Ale, Comanche being where the headquarters for Cat Connection LLC and for CM Becker International is. Todd every summer likes to just have a bodied light ale that he can enjoy on his patio overlooking the beautiful May, Texas scenery. It really is beautiful. If you haven't seen the photos I've posted on our Instagram, like it is unbelievable how the kind of view Todd has from his property. And it's always funny whenever over the years, I think they've been out there now on that property for 12 years, 13 years. Let's just round up 14 years. They've been there for 14 years. I'm making the claim. He's been trying, not hard, but he's been trying to get me to move out there with my family. And I tell him all the time, if I had the view you have, I would move there in a heartbeat, my friend. I could do that every night. But I can't afford the view he has. So I'd be in a shanty at the bottom of the hill. And, it wouldn't be unpleasant, but I'm not moving out there for that. But to the recipe, it is 7 pounds of Munton's Planet, 1 pound of white wheat. That's where that body comes from. And then half a pound of Caramel 20. Like the hops were for the full 60-minute boil, an ounce of Magnum. And then at Flame Out, he used that Hops Direct exclusive Belma, 1 ounce of it. That gave this beer such a nice, subtle, fruity aroma. But when you drink it, it's not very bitter. And that fruitiness isn't in the taste. It's just the aroma. It's a very pleasant summer beer experience. Todd loves it. He basically brews it every year. And my pop and I, this might have been a batch. I think this month we may have done the Kolsch because I wanted more Kolsch on tap. The one we brewed in January, we went through so quick, and I was like, oh man, we got to brew a Kolsch now so that we can enjoy it during the holiday season. Just let it cold condition this whole time. And thank you, past Josh, for doing that, because present Josh is loving that batch of Kolsch. But wrapping up this one, I heard great feedback from people who brewed the Comanche Moon Summer Ale, and it was one of like 3 or 4 recipe kits over the year that got requested from members a second time. Where like I said earlier, we work with our members for the most part to to accommodate your request. And so if sometimes you're like, hey, this month you're doing the alt beer, but, or I already used that example, but yeah, for conversation's sake, you're doing the alt beer, but I'd really rather have another batch of that Comanche Moon. If I have the ingredients and I still have the fresh yeast, yeah, man, I'll accommodate you, no problem. Especially when Tammy was shipping them. Man, y'all ask whatever you want. When it's me up there having to mill grains, I almost sometimes get tempted to be like, oh, the mill's broken, you get unmilled. I'm kidding. But yeah, we accommodate you guys. And this was one of like 3 or 4 that was requested by several members for a second time, where they're like, I'm so happy with how that turned out. I'm not really a big fan of whatever this other month style was. Therefore, could you just send me another 5-gallon recipe kit for the Comanche Moon? Yeah, absolutely. Got you covered. Moving on to, this was one of my favorite batches of the year, and I'm so happy we still have it on tap. Let me find it. I'll put it on screen now. It was an Asahi Super Dry clone, the Japanese rice lager. You'd think here we go. We called it Karakuchi, and I giggle every time I hear that because of Gucci. I think I could say that without bleeping it out. I don't know if that makes this now explicit, but if I say the whole word Karakuchi, then it doesn't sound weird. Well, it does sound weird because I'm saying it. But anyway, the rice lager is my homage, my trying my best to honor Asahi Super Dry. My family and I went on a cruise, a week-long cruise. How does Michael Scott say it? A Caribbean cruise on Carnival Cruise Line this summer with my in-laws, and the beer selection on their boats is mid at best. Every bar that we'd stop at or in the showrooms, they give you the menu as you're watching whatever theater thing, and the beer options, especially the draft beer, was just like, okay, I'm gonna have some macro brew, whatever. I realize Asahi's macro, but they don't have Asahi anywhere on the ship except at the sushi bar, which I forget the name of the place, but it's like mid-ship on like deck 5, or I forget the deck. Either way, those details don't matter. I was walking through there one night. We're on our way to some show, and I see a big old bottle of Asahi Super Dry on their countertop. And so I go to the lady and I go, hey, what's up with this? And she's like, oh yeah, no, this is the only place you can get it, and nobody ever orders it and this or that. And I was like, I have not had Asahi in a while. This was night 1. Let me try one, ma'am. And long story short, by the end of that cruise, I had a lot. And every time I'd walked by, the same lady was working, and she'd go, oh, is it Asahi time? And I'd look at her and I go, it's Asahi time. And she would get me one, or she'd upsell me to 2. She'd just say whatever she wanted. She was brilliant at her job. And when I got back from that cruise, I made it a point to be like, we're doing this. We're making a recipe of this. I want it on tap, and I want it on tap forever. And thankfully, we have not consumed it all because I still have it on tap. In fact, I know this is published on New Year's Day. If I have to make a prediction for what I'm going to be drinking most of tonight, I'm recording this on New Year's Eve, it's going to be a lot of Super Dry because it's low ABV. Ours finished at like 4.7, 4.8. It's very crushable. I'm not going to, I say a lot. I drink in 10-ounce pours, so I'm not like overdoing it. And I can do 5 or 6 of these 10-ounce pours, not lose my inhibition, still be able to safely light the fireworks with my kids, not blow off a finger, probably. We'll see. Maybe that'll be a fun story for next week's episode. How many digits am I losing because I was drinking too much Asahi Super Dry? But it was just it's such a good recipe. It is 6 pounds of Pilsner malt, lager malt, pardon me. That's what they call their Pilsner malt from Muntons. 6 pounds of Pilsner malt, half a pound of Carapils, 3 pounds of flaked rice, and a pound of rice hulls. My friends, if anything, if you're not in the Trub Club, and you just listen to the recipe again, 6 pounds of Pilsner malt, half a pound of Carapils, 3 pounds of flaked rice, half a pound of rice hulls. Go get those ingredients. Go make it. I promise you, you will not regret it. The hop additions, 60-minute boil for the full 60, 1 ounce of Saaz. We used Czech Saaz. You could use U.S. Saaz if you want. And then for the last 15 minutes, we used half an ounce of Czech Saaz. The yeast, I will say, may have been what made our batches so good. And it's a limited run from Imperial, and they called it, oh gosh, what's the Japanese word for cheers? You just have to look it up. I should have made more notes down, but they had a limited run. You can't get it now. I hope they bring it back. In which case, if and when they do, you better believe we're going to be doing a rice lager again. Maybe not for the Trub Club, because I don't like always repeating recipes year to year. But this is definitely one, especially if members request it, that I'd absolutely do. So, man, I did not realize I'm already been recording for 40 minutes and I'm barely halfway through the year. Moving on, for the next month, we did the Fat Tire OG recipe clone. Have it up here on the screen, but let me pull up the recipe kit. What we mean by OG, if you're new to the craft beer scene, Fat Tire changed up their recipe. It's not necessarily bad what they did to it, but it's not my favorite. The original was an amber ale. The new one I would call a golden ale, I guess. The amber ale, just a little bit maltier, in my opinion, a smoother finish. I don't know any of the other differences. I've never even looked into trying to do a clone kit of the new version, but the OG version is what we sent out this year. 8 pounds of Planet Malt, 1.5 pounds of light Munich malt, 1 pound of Caramel 40, 4 ounces of Victory, 3 ounces of biscuit, and 3 ounces of chocolate. That biscuit and chocolate just adding that subtle body, finish, and color. It's a great recipe kit. For the full 60-minute boil, we used 1 ounce of Willamette, and then with 5 minutes left in the boil for aroma, we used a half an ounce of Willamette. This is a very American recipe. It's delicious. It's tried and true. And ask anyone who's brewed it in our Trub Club. This is a Lorena Evans special. It is a spot on to the original Fat Tire. And the good thing is you can't even call me out on that now because you can't get the original. So I can say whatever I want. Like this is exactly what they use. And we brewed it 1 for 1. Because how are you going to fact check me? You can't fact check me. Now I'm going through speed round. So yeah, the Fat Tire was a great recipe. I enjoyed it. Todd, I took a $5 up there to him. This is one of the ones that he really complimented. He was like, I have text messages of him drinking like, guys, this is phenomenal. Oh my gosh, what did y'all do? We use premium ingredients. Like you can too if you go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and join a recipe receiving tier of the Trub Club. The next month, ooh, buddy, we sent out and we brewed what I will also be enjoying tonight, but probably not a ton of it because it did finish at 10%. The Founders Breakfast Stout clone. Now I got to just find it here on my screen. Here we go. Founders, the 2025 version of our Founders Breakfast Stout. This is a build. Get your pencils ready. 12.5 pounds of Planet Malt, 1.5 pounds of flaked oats, 1 pound of chocolate malt, 12 ounces of roasted barley, 10 ounces of Carafa 3, 8 ounces of Caramel 120, 2.5 ounces of baker's chocolate for flame out, 4.5 ounces of coarse ground coffee, and 1.5 ounces of cocoa nibs. I don't know actually which one it is. But for flame out as well. And then the hop additions for the full 60-minute boil, 1 3/4 ounce of Magnum. And then at 15 minutes left, half an ounce of Willamette. And at 5 minutes left, half an ounce of Willamette. My friends, one of the, again, Lorena Evans special, very spot on. We have a video, I'll put it in the description, of Todd and I taste testing last year a ton of breakfast stouts my pop and I brewed alongside a Founders. And then we also have an episode of the defunct recipe recap and review show that I used to produce for us back when we had a homebrew supply shop and we were drinking it side by side. And let Todd and James be in the comments or on a future episode vouch for this. This is spot on. It is chef's kiss. And my pop would say in years past, why we nailed it is because we used premium coffee like Folgers. That bothers Todd so much that we would use Folgers. They use Kona, which is a premium Hawaiian coffee, I think. That's what Founders, I believe, uses. We've used a couple years ago, Field Heads. I think they're out of Minnesota or Michigan, and that was a phenomenal batch. And then my buddy down the road who runs Mochas and Javas here in San Marcos, they've got like 4 locations here, and they're in Frisco, Texas with at least 1 location. They're growing. They sent us their signature dark roast last year and then this year to use on both the coarse ground part, which we, steep during flame out, I think is when we did it. And then also for the cold brew part at packaging. So because we keg, I'd pour it in before I keg, purge the keg of the oxygen, all that, and then do a closed transfer on top of it. Incredible, guys. This year's batch, like I said, I cannot compliment it enough. It did finish, I think the PDF sheet, let me look at what it says. It says it's going to finish like 7%. Guys, ours is closer to 10. It was like 9.98. And we got, I don't know if that's the efficiency of the G40. I don't know what exactly did it to get it so high up there, but our batch this year, and it's not offensively boozy. When you're drinking it, it's still very smooth. It doesn't burn up in your nose like some overly alcoholic tasting batches can be, if y'all know what I mean. But it was phenomenal, and I'm super glad we brewed it. Moving on to the next month, we did a German Pils. This is not, this was a James recipe. And if we do another Pils this coming year, I have options that I'll go over later. But like we've tried to replicate in the past Warsteiner, Hans Pils, all the our favorite ones. And I could not tell you what this recipe was supposed to mimic, if anything, or if this was just James brewing what he'd want out of it, because it's so straightforward and it's so tried and true, and it is such a good finish. All it is 9 pounds of lager malt from Muntons and 8 ounces of Carapils. And then for the hops, it's just 1 ounce of Hallertau Mittelfrüh for the entire 60-minute boil. We then used James's favorite lager strain, Harvest, from Imperial. And I'm telling you guys that if you just want a straightforward, crispy lager, there's not much more to it. The Pilsner and Carapils, and the dextrose, the Carapils, gives it some body. It keeps it crisp, and it's subtle. It's 8 ounces. It's nothing for a 5-gallon batch. That's everything we've been reading today has been the 5-gallon. We do this recipe under pressure, which technically I guess makes it our Unterdruck recipe that we do, because as soon as we pitch, I'm putting in my office, it's 70 degrees in here, or maybe a little bit under, and I'm injecting 10 PSI immediately. This batch finished out in like 3.5 days, super crisp. I don't mind doing this kind of thing under pressure because there's nothing, like a lot of people would argue, Todd specifically argues on our Kolsch, when we do it under pressure, you're probably suppressing the yeast too much, and think of how much more esters you could get if you weren't doing it under pressure. Where I tell him, man, I'm going for, like, if you drink Früh or go to Cologne and drink Peter's Kolsch, there's not a lot of esters in those anyway. So it's a little bit of Früh, and maybe we're suppressing it, whatever. But like with a lager, like this German Pils, I can't think of anything from the yeast I'm trying to get other than, this is highly flocculent, and it's going to take a lot of the sediment out. It's going to be crystal clear, and it's going to be, again, like drinking a cloud, a crispy, delicious cloud. So I can't think of anything the yeast is supposed to bring to a Pilsner that I'm suppressing under pressure. And it keeps me from having to buy expensive equipment. It keeps me from, it enables me to just do a lager at room temp, which is, it's the best time ever to be alive as a home brewer. Have I said that on this show before? But yeah, a very straightforward recipe. I can't say this enough for a lot of the kits. I think I've said this way too many times this episode. I keep repeating myself. It's tried and true. It's delicious. Go get yourself those ingredients if you want a fantastic recipe. Moving on. Now we're into the end of the year. My pop and I, we didn't do the, we did do, the Belgian triple, the Abbey Road. Let me pull that one up. That was 12 pounds of lager malt, 8 ounces of aromatic malt, and 2 pounds of corn sugar at flame out, which helps get this ABV up. Instead of trying to do like a 15 pound of grain bill, we were like, we're going to use corn sugar instead. That's going to add a little bit of body, but more importantly, it's going to add the ABV. It's going to add the necessary sugars to get this thing up. And doing it at the flame out just means as soon as our boil's done, we kill the heat. We poured it in. We stirred it. I think we ended our brew day live before that part. Maybe we started our brew day live different this past one by actually showing us milling the grains, because a ton of people said, hey, I'm looking at Monster Brewing Hardware's website, but there's not a whole lot of documentation of people using it. And so I was like, let's just start our brew day live one of these times, us showing how to use it. We had a little bit of a user error. My pop had the is it a hammer drill? What do you call the? It's not an impact drill. I think it's not a hammer drill. It's wired because you need that for the power. He had it in reverse at first, and so he's like, "It's not milling. It's not milling." And then I was like, "Is it in reverse?" Oh, and it mills great. Wonderful piece of hardware. But the brew day was smooth. It is still chugging along. It's projected to finish at 8.5% or higher. And so I'm going to let it take its time. We're almost a week since brewing it. And because we didn't have a brew day live in November, poor planning on my part, but we did build out my teaser, which I'll get to later. But we brewed. It is still chugging along. It's had this like two of my hands worth, not quite, one of my hands worth of Krausen for a few days now, and I still see the yeasties just going to town. It's a beautiful thing to watch. I posted a short little video here on our YouTube channel, as well as our Instagram and our Facebook, if you want to see it. It's so pretty. Using the Firmzilla, and it's clear. Like, yeah, I cover it just to keep any kind of UV lights off of it, but every now and then I open it up just to watch it go. It's beautiful. I cannot comment on how it's finished yet. If y'all have been listening to the show for a while, you know, Belgian styles aren't really my thing. Most of the time, the yeast brings it's astringent, right? That's what makes it a Belgian. And for me, astringency always gets me up in my nose or my sinuses. And it's kind of like, it's not sour. That's the wrong word, but it's just like okay, that's not really what I'm going for. But hopefully, you know, this Belgian triple, it's going to be one that we enjoy in small batches, or small pours, because it's going to be such a boozy beer. I imagine it's going to be bodied with that kind of, I say with that kind of build. You know, it's just Pilsner aromatic. Maybe it's going to be crispier than I know. I have nothing to compare this to, so I'm excited to see how this turns out. And I know some of y'all in the Trub Club have already brewed yours. I'd love your feedback below how it finished, if it's already finished, and if you've packaged it yet, because I've never brewed this. Back when this was a recipe that we sold on Keg Connection and homebrewsupply.com, back when we ran both of those websites as homebrewing supply shops. And I know it was popular as a kit of all the Belgian ones we offered, which is only like 3 or 4 different types. It was extremely popular in that context. But in the bigger picture of all the recipes, it was probably a top 15 seller of all the recipes. And I've never brewed it. So we actually had requests earlier in 2025 of people like, you know, y'all do the Fat Tire, and I guess that's technically a Belgian beer, even though it's not. It's not. We weren't using Belgian strains for the yeast. This one is using Imperial's triple double yeast strain, and that's as Belgian as you can get of their offering. In fact, it might be the only Belgian strain they even do anymore because of how popular it was compared to the other Belgian strains that they offered. So I'm excited to see how this one turns out. And if you have already brewed it, let us know. And then we ended the year with the Wee Heavy, a strong Scotch ale. Let me pull that one up. Wee Heavy. The artwork is always my favorite thing to do every recipe kit. This is shipping out Monday of next week, so January 5th or Tuesday, depends on how busy. I'm going up to headquarters for a 2-day trip, and I try to knock these out first before then having to do the real work for Todd, but sometimes he's like, no, let's do the real work for me. And then the recipes are secondary. But it's to go out next week, Monday or Tuesday. And it is 14 pounds of pale Maris Otter malt from Muntons, 1 pound of Caramel 60, 1 pound of light Munich malt, 8 ounces of caramel 120, 4 ounces of chocolate malt, and 1 ounce of roasted barley. That's quite the build. I had set all so this is a Lorena recipe from the original homebrewsupply.com days. And I forget how we tweaked it. I think we may have upped the pale Maris Otter because I don't remember if it called for dextrose as well. I'm trying to think of what we changed. No, you know what? I think that was the Belgian triple. I don't think we changed anything on this one. But as I was up there on this last trip, getting the hops ready for this, which is for the full 60-minute boil, 1.5 ounce of East Kent Goldings, and then at 15 minutes, 1/2 ounce of East Kent Goldings. I was getting those ready, and then I was staging the grain, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a heck of a build. What a way to end 2025, right? This is also going to be a 9% or higher ABV beer. It's going to be boozy. It's going to be malty. It's going to be one that you have with the cigar and a 4 to 6 ounce pour. And if you're feeling frisky, maybe you pour 2 because you're not driving home. I don't know what else to say about it. I've not had, Todd kind of called me out. Now I can't remember the style that he said, yeah, you've had Scotch ales. I will say, I know I've had them, but it's been a while. I've never had them on tap. And this is probably some styles we brew, my pop and I, and I'm like, I'm not taking Todd a $5. Well, I'm going to love this so much. I'm going to want 10 gallons of it to myself. There's no way we're going to be drinking this at a rate that makes sense to not share it. So if you live in the greater Austin, Texas area and you want beer to share, I promise you this might be a style we have a lot of, just because my pop and I are not trying to go big or go home when we're drinking at his house on a Sunday fun day or even at a family gathering. So this will be one for us that's like a 4-ounce taster glass with my cigar as I'm finishing a cigar, and it'll be that. So I'm looking forward to how it turns out. This is another style we've never done in the Trub Club. And early in the year when I was like, hey guys, you feel free to always message me if you have requests. And where are we at now? We're at like 40 some odd members in the every other month club tier of the club, which is the most. I think every month we have like 22 or 23, and then every other month it's like 44 or 43. Either way, I've had a good chunk of them be, and by good chunk, like 10%, tell me, Joshua, I've never done a Scotch ale. Would that be fun? Maybe, let's change it up a little bit. So I wanted to end the year with something special. And apparently end of the year with something special. I thought going into this, I didn't have anything planned. I thought, I'm going to just talk really briefly about the batches, and then I'll do the gear, maybe a half-hour episode. And look at this. I'm almost at a full hour, and I haven't even gotten past the recipes. Those were the recipes that we did for 2025. And for 2026, we have a lot of stuff planned. Let me get through this gear first, and I'll go quick on the gear. The recipes, I don't mind having talked so long because I wanted to show them on the thing. I want people to know, even if you don't brew with us, I'll give you the recipe for free in regards to the actual PDF or whatever. We don't paywall that. When people join the Trub Club at the recipe receiving tier, it's because they don't want to source the ingredients. They don't want to pay for shipping from a supply shop that's online. It's all baked into that cost, and they're supporting the show. For every month right now, we had to bump it up to $60 because shipping to most of you guys is literally $30 for these recipe kits. So we're not making money on this, guys. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to do what I really do for Todd. And I don't want to talk about what I have to really do for Todd. But we try to make the club as accessible as possible. And where it works out is because our sponsors have such premium ingredients. We know once we get you in, like a good drug dealer, we get you in for one kit, you get hooked. Because when you're brewing with premium ingredients, it's easy to make good beer. And when you make good beer, it's easy to want to continue to brew beer. So it all works out. This is really our friends. Our sponsors are our friends, and we want to help promote them. So it's all this symbiotic kind of thing, mutual beneficial thing. We don't need to make money off the kits. We want to get premium kits in your hands, and it gives us an excuse to brew. All of that aside, we're happy for everyone. We had a lot of you guys with us for the entire 12 months, which you could do. Or the more popular tier that we have is our every other month. And we did have to bump it up from 35 to was it 30 or 35? It was 30 or 35. We did have to bump up to 40 because, again, shipping a lot of the times is $25 or more unless you're a neighbor to us in the state of Texas. It is wild how expensive shipping has gotten. So we're just trying to cover labor and shipping. That's really what we're trying to cover. Which, before I get into the gear, I forgot at the top to mention some statistics about the show, recapping from 2025. We had 798,000 audio downloads in 2025. That was a little over 15,000 downloads per episode on average. And of that 15,000, probably only 14,888 were Chinese farm bots. So, good job, guys. We did it. We're still entertaining dozens of people week to week. Our YouTube channel hit over 7,000 subs, which I have no idea how many of those are real people either, with an average of 26,000 views on the channel per month. Full transparency, that's not views on our episodes. That's our short form content. We get a ton more views on videos that are like 5 minutes or less. These episodes where I'm already over the hour mark now, they get maybe a couple thousand after the first 30 days after publishing it. It's not the most popular thing. But we publish it there because a lot of people do want to watch us there, which I don't understand, but we appreciate you joining. And that reminds me, if you're there, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, because it really does help the YouTube algorithm. Our Trub Club has a total of 293 members. There are free tiers if you want to keep up. I don't post a ton of information there. You need to follow us on our YouTube and our social media. That's where I post more. But you can join for free at patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. But of the 293, 184 of those are paying members. And the most popular tier of paying members is actually the $10 a month tier. I was surprised by that. And then it's followed quickly by our second most popular tier, the $40 every other month. And then the third most popular tier is actually the $5 a month, which Patreon recently emailed me recommending we kill that tier. Like, after fees and everything, did you know you're not making much? And I was like, wow, that's impressive that y'all admit that. You do take most of the money that we get on Patreon. Between them and FedEx, who we use for the shipping, we make nothing. I'm not that full transparency, guys. This is a passion project. If it was lucrative, I'd be charging you guys $100 for those recipes. Kidding aside, then the every month recipe receiving tier is the fourth most popular tier. That out of the way, the gear we brewed on this year, I'm going to be very quick. You know what? I'll put it up on the screen too. Oh, where am I? Oh, there I am. We brewed every single batch on the Grainfather G40 electric all-in-one. Some highlights of this piece of gear. It is 304 stainless steel. It has a Wi-Fi controller with an app. It has a built-in sight glass, the basket, recirculation pump, and etc. Highly recommended. All-in-one electric brewing is a game changer for my pop and I. And the Grainfather, for better or for worse, for us, it's way better. It holds your hand. We don't forget about hop additions. If whatever you program into that batch in the app, it's going to remind you, and it's going to be obnoxious. Even tells you whether you program it or not. Hey, don't forget your sparge water, idiot. Oh yeah, we're going to heat up the sparge water. It holds our hands at a level that is so appreciated, that we so appreciate. And the good people over at Bevy who made that Grainfather, that is one of my brewing gear favorite pieces of brewing gear of all time. I would love to get a G70 to start doing bigger batches. We're just not there yet. Don't need it, but that would be the next upgrade that I'd have in mind. Speaking of sparge water, we still use a Gen 1 mash and boil. That's our sparge water heater at an 8-gallon volume. I don't know if you can still get a Gen 1, but I did look it up, and in the show notes, I linked to that. Is it Vevor or Vevor? Vevor? I don't. Vevor. Vevor. The Vevor. They have a very cheap, and by cheap, I mean affordable. I can't comment on the quality of the build, except that the reviews on the Amazon link seem to be decent. But we use that just for our sparge water because that enables us to have an electric kettle, much like the electric all-in-one, gets it heating up fairly quick. I mean, it's a 110. It's not a 220 volt like our Grainfather is. But if we start heating up the water, basically when we start the mash, it will match it where we get to 172 in about 45 minutes or give or take. It doesn't take terribly long, but more importantly, it'll hold it steady. Like some people in the old days, we would do our sparge water on a propane burner And yeah, you can do that, but it goes through propane. Once you get to temp, you kill the flame, then it comes down too much, and you put the flame back up. I like the predictability of electronic brewing. So if I could recommend anything to people who are still brewing on stovetop, which is relatively predictable, or propane cookers or cooler brewing or all that, if you do want to upgrade, look into electric all-in-ones. The Grainfather Brewzillas, I've heard, are very affordable. The Mash and Boil Gen 3 or whatever they're on now with the recirculation pump, there's a lot of affordable options, but we use that. For fermenting, we use the Firmzilla 15.9 gallon all-rounder. The pressure brewing version of this thing is only $170 with free shipping from our friends at More Beer. I don't get paid to say that. We just love the More Beer guys. And $170 for their entire kit. That's a hell of a deal. I will say I don't like the cheap components though, so I actually upgraded the post with these universal stainless steel posts, and then I took out their spunding valve and I used Tron's jellyfish, and then I took out their floating dip tube and I used Tron's Float at 2.0, which, let me fast forward, the Float at 2.0 is Joshua's favorite piece of gear of the year. I don't think I'm going to have a bumper there, but favorite gear of the year, without a doubt. It is so versatile. We use it in our furniture. We use it in our serving kegs. I'd use it in my coffee mug if I thought I could make good use of it. The Float it is, let me see what I wrote down about it. It is the greatest piece of homebrewing gear of all time, is what I wrote. Double filter inlet mates for clear beer every time, and the weighted head makes sure it gets all the beer out. But best of all, it's only $25. You take care of this thing, it will last you forever. And Tron, if you, the link I have, I think it's to the Amazon one. Transparency, we do get like 3%. If you buy using our Amazon link server, I do get a cut of that. It's not very much, but I do get a cut of it. But or just call Tron, go to homebrewerlab.com, get you one from him directly if you want. I don't care, just get you one. That's what I recommend everyone getting. If you keg or if you use a floating dip tube in your fermentation vessel at all, make sure it's a Float at 2.0. Like I had said earlier, the Spundit jellyfish is what I'm using for spunding most of the time. On this batch, I had to take apart my Spundit because I had to figure out why it wasn't holding. Like it's color coded. The thing's great. It's industrial grade pressure relief. It has color code for adjustments. It's compact. It's precise. I've had the jellyfish for a couple of years now. I had it as prototype. He sent me before it became out a consumer release version. And I don't know if I need to replace the spring or lube it up or something. It wasn't far off. It just was like, I set it to 10. And when I came in, it was at like 17 a batch ago. So I was like, okay, I got to figure it out. And I'm so lazy, I haven't called Tron yet as to ask him what might be going on. But it is not cheap, but I promise up until this, whatever this issue is, extremely precise. I do recommend it, and it's cool to just look at it. He makes it transparent. It reminds me of my Nintendo 64 controller I had in like 1999. That was transparent. And back when like Apple, Nintendo, all those brands were doing everything transparent, translucent, whichever one is the correct word to use in this situation. My favorite era ever to be alive. That it reminds me a lot of that. So then all of our beer is stored in my Keezer, which is a Frigidaire 14.8 cubic foot chest freezer. We have content on that of how we built out the collar. More importantly, it is the same Keezer Todd has, and we have a lot of content on his Keezer build. We did a presentation on it at HomebrewCon Online 2020. We've done recent content of it with the GovRed. It is an incredible chest freezer and value, and it fits 8 corny kegs in it. So I have, at any given time in there, 8 kegs, all on gas. I haven't converted mine into a dispensing Keezer yet. I still use the CM Becker flow control vent faucet, which is also one of my top 5 of all time favorite pieces of gear that every homebrewer should own. Todd calls it the $50 solution to a $5 problem because people who use the Cobra taps and mobile setups, there's no flow control. There's no control at all of anything. It's just to get beer out of your jockey box frequently into a cup, or out of your keg pump, if you're an old school keg party person, into your cup. The flow control vent faucet is beautiful because it's literal flow control in your hand. It's easy to dial and adjust. I can use it for in real time doing forced carbonation testing. I use it for my water, because I have not drilled holes through any of the 4 fridges I have in my garage. If I'm going to dispense, I have to open the door, get out the flow control vent faucet and dispense, but it is not as inconvenient as it sounds. I fear I'm going to drill into any given one of these fridges, and then my wife's going to be like, I want to use that fridge now for groceries or whatever. And I'll be like, but that's why I got the teaser. And so that will eventually be, if I'm ever going to dispense here at home, that'll be what I drill into, and obviously use C. Becker flow control faucets. But for right now, it's not that big of a pain in the butt to just open that up and, hey, Pop, we're done brewing. What do you want to try? And put the flow control vent faucet on there. It's like a 2.5 foot liquid line run of 5/16 line, because again, it's flow control. It doesn't matter how long that is. It's real flow control, full size compensator in this big ol'. It is a beer gun, but Asterix Blickman at one point sent us a cease and desist because they have a product called that. So it is in a vent faucet, but I mean, it's like a soda gun style from any given bar. So you hold it in your hand and you want to go pew, 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 because it's like a gun, but we can't call it that for legal reasons. So look it up at ketconnection.com. I have a link in the show notes. That is one of my favorite pieces of gear as well. Man, I flew through that part way quicker than I flew through the recipes. And then wrapping up this week's episode, our 2026 goals. I'll keep this short and sweet as well. My initial plan, we talk about this on Brew Day Live, another reason to join my Pop and I every week, because we give spoilers as to what the next month's recipe will be. We take your opinions on future stuff, but I've said it for a few months, since September, I've been reaching out to head brewers at popular commercial craft breweries, because in 2026, what I wanted to do, I still do, but I'm just not getting replies. I want to do commercial clones every month, very popular beers. We're talking like from Sierra Nevada, from Lagunitas, from Real Ale, from Shiner, whatever. Like, think of the beers that shaped our love of craft beer over the last 30 years. Well, I wasn't drinking 30 years ago, but 20 years of drinking for me as a 40-year-old, thinking of the craft breweries that shaped my love of this hobby, of this art. I wanted to feature these beers, and more importantly, I wanted to interview the head brewers of these breweries and have them have their input on the recipe that I'm coming up with, and talk about the history of the beer and what makes it special, and the history of the brewery. And really, because I'm not trying to sound like a good person or like the craft beer industry even needs my help. Lord knows, we have at most 20,000 listeners. We're not changing things, but I want people to know craft beer is more than just a good way of feeling good, right? Like, I don't drink to feel good in the sense of intoxication. There's 1-800 numbers for people who drink to just feel like that. I enjoy all the culture and history behind a style, the Kolsch that's been enjoyed for centuries, right? Basically, and the history behind it, and the recipe, and what makes this special. And I like enjoying it with the people I love, with my Pop, with my good friends. Sharing a beer with someone can be more than just, oh yeah, man, let's party, bro. Which, if you want to party, bro, too, great. Have at it. At 40 years old, I can't party bro as much as I used to, because I don't like headaches and hangovers. But getting the head brewers involved, because then people can get all the emotion and the history and context, not just like in Texas. For me, one of the first craft beers that wasn't Shinerbach was Real Ale's Fireman's 4. It was at every sports bar as a young man, and you'd have your Coors, you'd have your Miller, you'd have your Bud, and then, what is this Fireman's 4? Oh yeah, it's a blonde ale. Try it. And just like I said, I have such nostalgia for that, and I'm so butthurt that Real Ale won't reply to my emails or my messages, especially the messages that I see that they've read. But either way, throwing them under the bus. I hope that doesn't. They probably don't watch this, and if they do, when we do the interview, guys, I'll take it all back. But I've also reached out to almost every brewery that I wanted to feature next year. And since September, I've been reaching out and following up, and nobody's gotten back to me. So it's heartbreaking. Maybe the craft beer industry doesn't want my help, but or doesn't like my idea. But to at least reply to me and tell me the idea is stupid. But I wanted to feature, like I said, the flagship beer from some of these just renowned American craft breweries is what I wanted to do. And we may still do that, but as we are now in January, I have to come up with a recipe for January. So I don't know 100% what we're going to do, but that was my goal. My next goal is more people involved in the Brew Day Live, not just in the chat, but actually brewing with us. The software I use now called VDO is free, and my understanding from the perspective of attendees and a VDO is it's very much like Zoom, but I can take that feed and do a lot more in this broadcast software I use, which is OBS, also free. There's a theme here, guys. I'm cheap, and I can use it more. It's better resolution. It's just better all around. So my plan is to incorporate more of you guys into Brew Day Live and coordinate with you. You don't have to be brewing what we're brewing, and you don't even have to be on the Brew Day Live the whole time, but being able to bring people in throughout the Brew Day, people in our community, because people think that maybe I'm blowing smoke up listeners' butts to get them to join. If y'all realized how many texts I get from y'all, I give out my Homebrew Happy Hour number. You'll have Todd's personal cell. I'm not that comfortable yet, but I am addicted to my cell phone. I get between 20 and 30 unique texts from people in the Trub Club every day. And if you know me, unless I'm on vacation, I'm replying to y'all almost in real time. I love it. I'm not complaining. The community is not just what keeps this going financially, which is to say it's a wash, and thank God it at least pays for itself. It keeps it going with the fire that I have for homebrewing, like the passion of it, or like, oh yeah, the community is easily the best part of brewing. Brewing with my pop, we are our own homebrew club. If you're not in a homebrew club, we try to be that for you in a digital way. I always recommend though also joining a local homebrew club, because that's like the best thing you could do. If you're not in one, make that your New Year's resolution to join a homebrew club. Or like I said, you don't even have to join the Trub Club in a paying fashion. Just, if you participate in stuff, we try to be that for y'all. Most of the texts I get from y'all are Brew Day type questions and like support. Hey, what should I do here? What should I do there? I love it, guys. You are the reason that we are still doing what we're doing. Lord knows, again, this at best is a passion project. So if it wasn't for the involved community we have, we would not keep doing it. Y'all's support of Homebrew Happy Hour, y'all's support and orders at ketconnection.com, which we still need. We still fulfill their orders. And so I hope you're still supporting them. I don't see orders as much anymore because I'm not as involved. But the ketconnection.com, all of our sponsors, Muntins, Hops Direct, Imperial, Brewer's Friend, and Monster Brewing Hardware. We also have some new sponsors that want to hop on board next year. I'm working on some deals that I can talk about later. It is looking to be an exciting year, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. If that means going to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and joining the tier, great. If it doesn't, whatever. The fact that you watch the show, that you download the audio or you're watching us at youtube.com, you join the Brew Day Lives to interact in the chat, whatever you're doing, sincerely, I appreciate it. Y'all made 2025 such a good year for me, such a good year for Todd and James, and for my pop, all of us who are involved at Homebrew Happy Hour. We sincerely appreciate you. I wish nothing more than for you to have a great 2026. And if you have any recommendations for what we should do for recipes, if I can't get the craft breweries on board, go to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour and leave a comment. Not only will it help me plan out 2026 brew days, it'll help me, it'll help the algorithm put our video in front of more people. But anyways, guys, I sincerely appreciate y'all. I'm going to wrap it up right now because I've been talking for way too long. So with that, we'll do it for this week's episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss, of course you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or be our best friend and call it in. Leave a voicemail at 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsors like Muntins Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Muntins, give them a try by joining the Trub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of premium liquid imperial yeast along with delicious recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Again, I implore you to go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. Again, guys, a huge thank you to every member of our Trub Club, because truly without you, I could not do what I do. I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.